This year, the Wellness Summit returns. 95% of the people you know out there want you to play it safe. They don't want you to jump over fire. You could get burned. They don't want you to live the life that you were born to live.
You've got to remember that if you're cooking food, you want to love it. You don't want to be thinking, oh, I don't want to have to prepare another meal for my husband who doesn't appreciate it. I don't have to prepare another meal for my wife who just doesn't care. She just wants peanut butter on toast.
Wake the heck up. You are where you're at right here, right now, because of all the choices you have made up to this point. Now, I didn't know what to do with being blown up. I didn't know what to do with that until the psychologist told me, you're going to have post-traumatic stress disorder, Karen. I went, okay, great. Now at least I know what to do with that.
Get ready, Melbourne. The summit is back. Where other people are just walking through fire.
I mean, look at it. And I'm on the phone going, yeah, and he's coming, look, like this. And then he's lifted up his top and he's squeezing that, and I'm going, yeah, I can. He goes, when are we masking?
There's something there that you want, that you haven't been doing for yourself.
Zazen Alkaline Water presents the 2018 Wellness Summit. Bigger and better than ever. All info and tickets at thewellnesssummit.com.
TheWellnessCouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
Welcome to Nourishing the Mother, featuring your hosts Bridget Wood and Julie Tenner.
Hello and welcome to Nourishing the Mother. I'm Bridget Wood.
And I'm Julie Tenner. And today we have an interview with a very gorgeous drama teacher called Sarah Chapman from Drama Rama. Before we get kicking into that, I'd love to remind you to jump onto our homepage, nourishingthemother.com.au, and on the front there, sign up to join our tribe, where once a week we will send you a wrap-up email. I want to say once a week, Bridge, but sometimes.
That's how I was thinking about that. I just said that. Hasn't happened once a week lately.
I know. Sorry, I've got a baby that's not sleeping. Bridget's got a baby that's not sleeping.
Toddler's not sleeping.
I know, right? Anyway, we aim to get it out there once a week so you can catch up on what we've put out there in the world. So we would love you to jump onto nourishingthemother.com.au and sign up to join our tribe to stay in touch.
Yes, and I'd love to tell you a bit about Sarah now. So Sarah Chapman is a true drama queen. She has been on stage since she was 5 and went on to obtain her Bachelor of Dramatic Art from the VCA, which is the Victorian College of the Arts. In 2009, she opened the Drama Rama Factory in Seaford, just near us in Bayside, Melbourne, where she provides a safe space to create and nurture young artists. In 2017, Sarah finished her Masters of Teaching in Double Drama and looks forward to expanding her drama and performance school into an arts hub in the area.
So my daughter has gone to Sarah's drama class for the past 4 years, which you will hear in the interview. And really what we wanted to grasp from Sarah was part of the roaring kind of feminine in action and how we can find a way to tap into a bit of that within our own day-to-day lives, and what an expression and a space like that does for our children, whether it's within the home or within an extracurricular activity, how we can just start to break that open. So we really hope that you enjoy our chat with Sarah Chapman.
Welcome, Sarah. It's so wonderful to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, ladies.
So what we didn't say in the bio is that Sarah has taught my eldest daughter, Jade, drama for 4 years now, which is just unbelievable. And when I first put Jade in drama, I completely and totally fell in love with you. I just thought you were like this beaming, just radiant, roaring feminine in her body. And I went, yes. That's what I need.
I don't know if I look like that every week, but great.
And then what happened with my daughter was I was noticing that she was a bit kind of, crazy and out there at home. And then she'd get into school or into parties with lots of our friends, and she'd start to shut that part down of her, which is why I'd looked for drama originally. And within a term, maybe 6 months of being in your drama class, completely reverted. So all of a sudden I could see her just expanding that sense of safety around who she was, fully embodied everywhere. And I just have been like on the biggest drama bandwagon.
Have you?
Ever since then. Yeah, I'm like,
I love hearing.
Oh my gosh.
Put him in drama.
I am, yeah.
Look, drama is for life. That is one thing I say with my sister. We have a good joke. She's a dance teacher, so she's like, dance is for life. I'm like, drama is for life. But thank you so much for saying all that. I love it when I hear that about the students and how much they're blossoming and the confidence that they get. It's just awesome. Thank you.
So what I want to have you on here for, and Sarah, originally when I said, let's podcast, she said to me, well, I don't know what we'd podcast on.
Yeah.
And I said, well, there's two things I really want to know from you, and this is where I want to take the conversation today, and I know you do too, Bridge, is I want to know how you access this concept of what I see in you, this moving, roaring, body-centric safety thing that you do. And you need to own that right now because you know you do that.
Yes.
And by virtue of that, how important it is as a woman to have connection with your body, to own your voice and have safety in projecting it in this world, which I also see by virtue of being who you are through drama, that you're then able to take into other areas of your life.
Definitely.
So there's toolkits there that I want women to know about. And the other part is play. Play is huge. Play is huge for us in what we talk about with parenting, and then, you know, play that we seem to have just diminished out of our lives from our relationships and our sex lives and our work and our, you know, play that just has disappeared. And I'm so interested to know how you see play, why it's important, and how we move through as women our kind of crunchy, you know, I don't think I can stuff to get in, to rip into that.
Okay.
Where do you want to go?
Yeah, where do I want to
go, Bridget?
I just love seeing, you know, you light up around this topic, and also how, because I'm thinking about, as you're saying all of this, Jules, I'm thinking about my own story with drama and how much I struggled as a teenager to find my tribe, I suppose, and to feel okay in myself. And for me, musical theatre and drama was my avenue to feel connected to myself again, in my body, a friendship group, you know, across all different age levels, and to really find a space to be okay, you know, as a teenager, and try on characters and try on the full expanse of emotion I think that drama allows you. So as you were saying all that, I was thinking, yes, you know, like where I suppose as parents did we lose that, and how do we bring some of that back at the same time as seeing perhaps, you know, as our children grow, where they're dimming, and how drama or play might be a good avenue for them to expand too.
Well, firstly, cheapers, which question do I go with?
Well, do you want to go down the path of embodied feminine first, or do you want to go down the path of play and awakening that?
Now, let's go there, because you said body safety, and I should own that. Now, are you talking that I feel safe in the world with the way I hold my body, or what do you mean by body safety in that sense?
I guess what I mean is, what I see in you is this sense of presence, of a safety to take up space rather than feeling like you need to shrink in it.
Okay,
I guess that's where I'm at.
They might all be interconnected, these questions, actually, because, all right, if we look at that, I've been on stage and dancing, performing since I was like 5. And just like you, in primary school, I was about 9, I got my first lead role in the local musical and had a little song. And I've always been on stage, throwing my voice, singing, and I've always been very loud.
Has that ever been what I imagine?
Yes,
though,
people tell me off all the time.
Yeah, so the recrimination of that, of I'm thinking of adolescence, of being too much in this world, too much as a woman. Like, what is the pain that's come with that, and how have you worked through that?
Well, interestingly enough, there was a divide between me at high school and then me when I was performing and dancing and whatever. At high school, I didn't feel so safe. I mean, schools are... Especially if you're a teenager. I've got a 15-year-old at the moment, and I'm teaching in high schools. And you forget, or you don't. You look at these teenagers and you think...
You feel their pain.
Oh, this has to be one of the worst periods of life. I mean, it's great in a lot of ways. There's things that are expanding, but there's all that peer group pressure going on, and then you're trying to get these kids to learn, and they're too, focused on who's hating them, who's liking them, who's on the socials. And with all of the cyber... atmosphere around them as well, you can't always be really sure about what's going on. But one thing that I did love was, no matter how bad high school was or whatever, and I mean, I have some beautiful friends I'm still friends with, I'm not saying it was all bad, But I grew up in the country in Druin where the boys played footy and the girls played netball. And if you did anything different, you're a weirdo. I just went, stuff it, I'll just be as weird as I can then, really. I was really good at costumes and people be like, here she comes again. But I had that outside of school, you know. So if I had a crappy day at school or whatever, I'd be off dancing or doing ballet or, you know, making up jazz solos. And I remember that my friends and I used to commandeer the drama portable at lunchtime and go in there and make up some pretty awesome dances. Well, we thought they were awesome. Maybe if we look back at them now, not so much.
So it was your safe space as well.
Yeah.
And what I hear from that as well is how important is extracurricular activities and friendships with our kids?
I think it's really important. But there's a real, you've got to be careful because I do see some parents who have their kids in something every single night. And not only is that a burden on the parents who have to drive around, plus money, you know, economically, but then you forget how you can be bored. And kids need to be at home, they need to be bored to work out what they do. So then my stepdaughter does drama and singing with me, and I have a whole swathe of children who come and sing downstairs in the studio. So there's all of that going on in our house as well. My eldest son does 7 accents before breakfast. I'm trying to tell him if he does VCE, he really should do drama. And it just rolls out of him. So we'll see what happens with him. But going back to bodies and safe spaces. So interesting you talk about safety because I'm always one of those chicks who walks down the street with my shoulders back, you know, my chest out.
No, I've noticed that about you.
Yeah, and I've read that many times that if you are going to be attacked by a woman or, you know, that usually they're going to pick on the people who look scared and who are cowering and, you know, get your chest out there, chicks. Get strong. Like, I don't know, what are you going to do? I've travelled the world. Before I had kids, I lived in Japan, I lived in London, I lived in Vienna, Germany. I've been travelling that many places and I have been on my own. And without that, sometimes, you know, you get that fear that something's going to go down. But without that idea of, you're not taking me down. And
is that what you kind of role play in your head? Is almost you put on that character of you're not taking me down?
Only in that sort of situation. I don't know, because after I finished high school, so I did a lot of dancing, and then after I finished, I went over to Japan, I danced there, and then I came back and I studied at the Victorian College of the Arts. And we did so much movement, yoga, Feldenkrais, all sorts of body work.
Did you ever struggle with that?
No.
Did you see other, I'm going to say people, as opposed to just women, struggle with being in their bodies or moving certain parts or in certain ways?
Yeah, movement class was quite funny with some of the guys.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Oh, they were just hating on it. And we had this amazing movement teacher. She used to really whip you in the morning. You know, like we'd have two hours flat strap or something, and she'd be making us run from one corner of the room over to another, and handstands and cartwheels and all this stuff. And dudes would be like, I hate this, hate it. And I'd be like, woo, let's do another cartwheel. So,
have you always felt good in your body?
Pretty much. I played roller derby a few years ago, as you know, and that was awesomely empowering. And you're really throwing your body at people.
That would be intense. I went roller skating recently, and that is not a soft floor.
It's fun.
You know, like I made sure I didn't fall for the reason that it looked like it was really hard.
Yeah, that's the trick. Just don't fall.
What was your mum like? Because I'm wondering how you've come, almost seems like born into this world comfortable in your skin. How is that?
That's interesting because my mum passed away before I even had kids. So she's been gone 18 years. And she wasn't well. So she had her first son at 18, boys, and then there was a gap. But she had scoliosis as a child, and as she grew up, she needed to get surgery. So she had this metal rod put into the top of her spine. And that obviously meant that she was inflexible at the top, and it still gave her pain. And I remember her being in full body cast when I was little, and she was saying, pick stuff up for me, pick things up.
So interesting.
And then, you know, she died of breast cancer, so she had a big struggle with that. So there were all these years, and she was a single mum, so she would do any job to supplement her pension. Like one point she pumped petrol. We used to work on the market garden because we're out in the country a lot, so she'd be harvesting potatoes and doing veggies, you just come back and her back would be killing her. So, yeah, that's interesting. But she had my sister and I dancing just our whole lives. And I was like, at one point, I was like, I want to be an actor. I want to go do drama club. And there was nothing like the drama school that I run anywhere anyway. So that was one reason I wanted to open it, because I would have loved that if I was a kid. But and I said a few times, I'm done with dancing, Mum. I don't want to be a dancer. I mean, I love dancing. You can see me dancing around this pool table a lot to Xanadu, actually.
Xanadu.
But I love Xanadu. Anyway,
it's so interesting because you go, Bridget.
I'm just so thinking that perhaps your mother's void on her own inability to move gave her such a value in giving you that experience and giving you and your sister that outlet to be able to move your body in any which way you wanted to.
Yeah, well, she was also she was a widow with 4 kids. So she didn't have stacks of money. So it was about, I think, this might be wrong, if anyone listening knows the real story, feel free to get involved and tell me. No, it doesn't really matter. I think Mum she was a really good sewer. So I think she used to do a lot of sewing for free and do all sorts of stuff at the dance school so that she would get reduced fees to pay for us. And, she didn't have much spare money or spare time. We used to drive. At one point, we used to drive to the city at least twice after school.
It's super committed though, isn't it? Like she has to really value the fact that she can't move, wanting you so desperately to move your bodies, that she's investing whatever she has in whatever capacity she has to see her daughters live that out. So when you think about teenage girls, which now obviously you're a teacher in high school and you're teaching young women who are, learning to project their voices within drama and singing, what is it that you're teaching them about being out and upright in this world and bringing that voice out? How are you working them through that? What thoughts do you have when you see them shrinking, and how do you talk to them about that?
Well, a really big thing that I do is create a safe space in the drama room, and it's a completely bully-free space. Everyone is free in there because, you might be turning into, a tiger or an old man or it might be all sorts of things you're going to be. And the kids usually get up each week and do an improv, and they're just, sometimes they nail it and it's on the spot. Sometimes they nail it, sometimes they don't. And I'm like, failure's better than not getting up at all. Be safe and be a weirdo, please. Please be eccentric. Please wear your weirdest clothes here. The world will be just too boring if we're not all out expressing ourselves.
I can so see how that must just feed every other area of teenagers' lives, particularly in school, where they're, might be disengaged in one particular class or, just totally distracted in another. That outlet for them to move through their body, whatever stress is going on, whatever anxiety, is just so empowering.
And now I am teaching in high school, so there'll be kids who come in who've never done drama at all. And you think, they're going to hate it, or they're not going to want to get up into the space in front of people, or and usually though, they just jump up and have a ball because they can play. If you're doing mime or you're doing these crazy improvs, all of a sudden they're digging for gold. We're just in a drama room with black painted bricks or whatever. But it's just a space where their imagination can go and they can use their bodies as well. I mean, I love it. Yeah.
You're taking me back, man. I just love it.
Why is improv important?
Oh, because you learn to live in the moment, which is one of the cruxes of sterling acting, and in fact a lesson we all need for life. It's very important to try and stay right in the moment. Don't be thinking about what happened in the past, or try not to. I'm not perfect, listeners. I'm not. I don't walk around all the time going, I never made a mistake. Wouldn't it be great if none of us ever made mistakes?
No, we'd never learn.
No, I don't know. Anyway, so you're not too focused on the past and what's happened, and you're not too focused on the future. You're not living your life for this thing that's going to happen in the future, which, who knows, may never happen anyway, but to enjoy right where you are, living in that moment. And so one of the big things with acting is that you're sitting in that moment, and because you might be in a play where you're about to do your 30th performance, and it has to be like you're hearing those lines for the first time. And every night an actor will speak differently anyway. One night it might be kind of angry and you're like, righto, let's take it down that path. Or another night it will be different. So, yeah, living in the moment. And I try to do it, yeah.
I wonder how that transcends into your motherhood, or what extrapolations you have philosophically with that as well, because when you're talking about might be your 30th performance of exactly the same thing, it feels like Groundhog Day in motherhood. How do you practice improv in motherhood? How do you bring that play and a different form of mindfulness in being in a moment through improv and play? How do you do that with kids?
Look, I'm a perfect mother. No.
None of us are. That's not what we're
gosh.
saying.
Well, our house, we are so lucky, it's very full of laughter. And so the kids in the morning are laughing. We try to listen to music in the morning, if, you know, full on rap while we're having breakfast, or, you know, there's always some joke going on.
How do you practice play?
How do we practice play? I was thinking about this when I looked at your email. I have to say that play is laughter. Play is stuff that makes you laugh, isn't it, really? I mean, then I thought, you know, then there's serious play. Like if you were performing and you're in a serious play, then that's, or if the kids are in drama and they're doing something that's a bit serious, but it is still, or you've got a little kid who's pretending to be a doctor on you, you know, like that's serious. But for me, playtime is a lot of laughter and feeling joyous. And in that sense, we just play here all the time. We always make jokes, there's pranks going on. We try to laugh about things.
Do you ever feel like not playing? Like, oh, I just want to be mellow today.
Definitely. Then I go Netflix. And watch movies and chill. And because I am quite loud and I guess I'm quite like hyper, I'm full of energy, but when there are days you have to shut down when you're always out and up. You always have to go and have your downtime.
And how do you manage that as a mum?
Oh, they're older now. I'm not in that place where they're really little, like those days. I remember if you weren't feeling well, you're tired and you've got these toddlers screaming at you and there's yogurt flying around on walls and you think, I'm going to throw myself off the balcony. So it's not like that.
That's true.
Yeah, we all feel I'm going to put my own head through a wall. On some of those afternoons just before the witching hour, I used to.
Yeah, it's fun. That's what I mean. Like, how do we, because when you're in that, it can be so hard to drag yourself out of the seriousness. And yet when you find a way to do that and you bring the play in, there's a way of that heaviness lifting and that laughter coming back in, and all of a sudden you're like, all right, I'm okay. I'm good for the next.
Yeah, I guess improvising.
Yeah, that's why I'm so interested in this, because I watched my daughter in we came and watched one of your classes the other week, and it was all these amazing improv, and I just thought, oh my God, how do they even do that?
I know, they're amazing.
Think of all of these things in the moment and make it so, I don't know, amazing. Like, how do you...
They are amazing because every year, like we're just about to go into the short films that we make and the kids write those. Excuse me. And I'll say, okay, we're making this short film in the kitchen and you're a bunch of chefs, and how do we get from point D to F? Like, how are we going to solve that? How do we get through these two scenes? And they'll be like, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about that? And they find the logical, the scene builder. I don't know what I should call that.
Do you trust children, and how do you do that in terms of trusting their lead in play? Because what I witness in your drama classes is that when it comes to any form of performance, it's child-led. You're not pre-scripting anything at all whatsoever. They're doing the whole lot and you're following that play. How do you do that?
Okay, so I usually have an umbrella idea, or if it's a short films, I'm going to start sitting down with them and saying, look at the space we're in, because obviously we've got no green screen there. It's a hall with a kitchen, a bit of grass outside. We don't have a lot of, sets and stuff. And we only have the hours in the hall. So we have to make it something that's very easy to set up and put down. But I will ask them all about what their ideas are and they'll throw things up. But something with the concert, I usually have an umbrella idea. And then I ask them, how are we going to do this? What do you want to do? And some ideas I have to throw out. I'll say that's a great idea, but that just does not match with this and it won't get us to there, or that'll be too hard. We need to keep these characters in the piece, or we need to work out how we can get these characters in. So, it's very collaborative. It's all about collaboration in the films and the concert and even the classes, they get together, they make little improvs, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes and get up on the stage and show the class. And that's all about coming together and collaborating, which is just such an awesome skill for life. And
what do you do when that doesn't work, when there's clashes or they're not communicating well?
It doesn't happen often, actually, but there might be one student who says, you know, we're doing an improv about being in a bakery, for example, and one's like, I have to be a princess. Or one boy is like, I have to be a ninja. And I'm like, well, that really doesn't fit in this whole thing. So I try and funnel them in to be characters to stay within the story, because the important thing as artists, actors, singers, whoever, writers, you've got to follow your story. You've got to stick to your story. It's about what the audience sees. We have to make sure that the audience understands what's going on. But then, yeah, there was one year that one little boy just couldn't stop being a ninja, and it was a lemonade stand, and I thought, stuff it, just be a ninja. Like it was like, and I don't like to do it because then all the other kids will be like, oh, but then I should be this and that. And so sometimes they all look at me and they can hear that I've tried for like 2 or 3 weeks to be like, we've got to be something else. And then they say, yeah, no, Sarah, just let him be a ninja. And, you know, sometimes I think...
I'm going to say that to you. I'll just let you be a ninja.
Yeah, and sometimes I think some of these...
Like a dog with a bone.
Oh, sometimes I think these little students too, like they ache for this one place where 1 hour a week they can be a ninja for an entire hour if they want to. So sometimes I let it slide a bit, but...
Because you can see that balance there.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to teach them is following a story. So I do try and do that.
And do you ever find yourself hitting your own edges of wanting to control it or wanting it to be a bit different, or like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing that? Do you ever kind of hit your own edges there?
Well, yes.
So that's what I'm interested in too, is when we're talking about following our children's lead into play, how do we deal with our own kind of...
Well, you have to try and shape it, and you have to know where your boundaries are.
Tell me about that.
Well... One concert a couple of years ago, and I'm sure you'll remember this one, they came up with the idea of being in a Centre Stink office, or Centrelink.
Yeah, I do remember this.
So there were quite a few strange characters in there. There were some bogans and everyone's there. It was hilarious. But a couple of the kids said, they just kept saying, I'm on drugs, my character's on drugs. And they came in there pretending they're taking drugs. And they thought it was hilarious. And I was like, I don't think your parents are going to like. Okay.
I don't think that's what they're paying for.
But I was studying my master's at the same time, and so I did say to the drama professor, I was like, what do you do when they're trying to do that? Like they want to pretend they're even though that's their own version of what a drug addict is anyway. A drug
it's so
addict
fascinating though, wasn't it? Because what I remember from that as well was it was like they had walked down one of the streets in wherever where you would see a large demographic, and they're like, well, I'm going to take some of that reality and some of that reality and some of that reality, and here they were playing out the reality that on some level they're just trying to understand.
I reckon I can see it as enormously healing. Like they're clearly probably playing through some anxiety around it, or some kind of desire for understanding. Or
when I asked my professor about it, I just said, well, where's the line? You know, like there must be a line here. And she said, look, you have to try and work that out for yourself. But the one thing about drama is supposed to be that you are acting out whatever you want to be. You know, like, if an actor goes and plays a drug addict or whatever, then they're not actually a drug addict. So they're saying these things that they want to be. I think mostly because if someone does say, oh, that guy's drunk over there because he is screaming and yelling and being ridiculous, or there will be some druggos at the mall having a fight. So they've seen that and they really want to try and embody that persona and what these people are thinking. And, you know, you don't very often in your life just get the opportunity to go, I'm going to be real angry now and just smash someone in the face just for the hell of it.
How interesting is that, even just to have that capacity or that opportunity, like you're saying, to even just try on that emotion? What does this feel like? Because I don't get to do that at home. What does this feel like?
Yeah, we had a few girls last year in the older group were playing some serious bitches because they just wanted, I think they'd started high school, they're close to starting high school, and they're lovely kids. But they wanted to see what it felt like
to be a bitch.
To be the bitch. And I was like, get the bitch out. you know, and I've always said to them too, you know, none of you are like that, but if you need to stand up for yourself, you might have to be a bitch one day, you know, like, but just don't be one of those ridiculous ones who are picking on people for hair or clothes or look at your makeup or look at how fat you are, skinny you are, like, you know. But in that terms of going, yeah, if you really want to go me, then I will stand up for myself and you can call me a bitch if you want, but yeah, that's gone on another sort of tangent, hasn't it?
I love it though because it's really showing how drama and this kind of play allows for us to and our children to really grow and expand and try on all different roles. And
it's really different for them. Like there's pretty much a bit of performance every week, where they're either on the stage or they've made up something that they're showing, and then all of a sudden you get to the end of the year with concert. And there's a big audience there, and it's really interesting because some of the students, I think your daughter the first year was crying. She was that nervous.
I can see Jade struggle with that. I can see her kind of pull herself in a bit and then try and expand and pull her in. It's like this shrinking and expanding as I'm watching her, yeah.
Yeah, I think she was crying the first year. And then some of the kids are that nervous.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're not going to die. Let's just go on stage. You want to see how good she'll feel afterwards. And they do. They have this sense of, I did it. And, you know, that whole idea that the show's got to go on, you know, like no matter what happens. When students are sick, like your daughter was sick one year too, and she was beside herself because she had gastro and she couldn't go on stage. She was just beside herself. But then the rest of and there's nothing you can do about that at all. She came to class the next week, she was crying. I was like, there's going to be another drama show. Don't worry, we really missed you, you know. But at the same time, all the other students around her
got an opportunity to really step up in their improv.
Well, they had to pick it up. They had to be like, Jade's not here, so we have to know how this story runs. We have to know what you know, how we get to the end, and we just have to do it. And they did.
Yes.
So it's that whole concept of you've got to get up there and do it. You've got to get up there and do it and face your fears.
How do you breathe confidence into kids to face their fears?
That's an interesting question. I don't know, because I know I've got a gift for it, because there'll be little kids who don't even want to leave their mother's side when they're starting and they're that shy, and the mum says, you know, come on, keep coming back. And then by the concert, they're front centre trying to shove their way, like everyone out of the way, you know, like it's my turn. I just keep saying everything's going to be fine. And I think once they get over their initial fear and then they're in this safe space, and then I'm there at the concert and you know, I bolster them up and, you know, you're going to feel awesome after this. We're going to show them our story. And a very important thing I try and teach them as well is that they need to keep their head in their character and their story. So if you're out there performing or your song, you know, like the story that you're telling with your song, instead of thinking, who's out there watching me? Am I an idiot? Am I doing okay? I'm terrible. Instead of that, just thinking about being right in the moment, in your script, in your story, doing what you need to do to serve that. And, you know, like I say to some of my singing students who get really terrified because they're on stage on their own, I'm going to say, do you know what? Even Christina Aguilera, who can sing, no matter what you think of that woman can sing. You know, you can be the most well-produced, well-trained person in the world. You make millions and trillions of dollars and people are still not going to like her.
Have you experienced haters in your...
Oh, I've got so many haters. No, I don't know.
How have you dealt with the haters then? Because you have quite a strong anti-bullying... I don't know what the word is, drive. I'm wondering where that's come from. Did you experience bullying when you were younger?
Oh, yeah, I did in primary school. I don't know if there are anyone who really escapes from even a little bit of bullying. I mean, a bit of it's part and parcel, which I hate to say, because part of my future, I wrote some papers and I'd love to start some anti-bullying workshops. People can be horrible. People can be mean. I mean, you get to a point you don't want to go to school.
But have you learned a toolkit from that? Like in terms of when you say, you know, haters are always going to hate, but it's about almost in a way expecting that and then working out how to handle yourself within that. Have you learnt that skill set from her?
Yeah, and that's hard because I reckon I've only got a real hold of it as I get older. I mean, you can say as much as you want, I don't care, haters back off, whatever, but people do say stuff that really upset you.
How do you handle yourself though? Like coming back to when you're really saying to these teenage girls, you know, it's great to try on your bitch.
Yeah.
And some point in time you might need to call on her, which
I think they will.
We do a lot in our work with women in terms of even trying on, which is in essence, I wonder, a form of improv is looking at even calling on the feminine archetypes. So knowing, okay, well, this is the time to call in, you know, the divine mother, or this is the time to call in the seductress, or this is the time to call in the maiden. And you almost have in your head a picture of what she looks like, what she sounds like, what she would be moving like, what she would be wearing like, and you go, right, be that. And I wonder, in a way that's kind of like doing that is trying on your inner bitch so that you have the capacity to face the world in a particular way. And I'm wondering if that's the skill set that you've learned from the experience of pain that you're now able to hand down to girls now that you never had the opportunity for that toolkit.
Well, it's very interesting because we do have different characters that we use in life, don't we? The one at home isn't the same as the one we take to work, or the one at the party, you know, is not the same person that you would show at the bank. We all do have different faces that we have to wear. And it's not about being two-faced, three-faced, whatever you want. It's just having those different characters and roles that you play. And that is what I do make the kids do, though. They have to, when I ask them to imagine something, they have to get as clear a picture as they can before they go on. But
is that what you do in your head at certain times? Do you find that that's become second nature for you, that concept of trying a person on or trying an emotion on? Or is that kind of second nature for you now?
Yeah. I don't feel like I change myself.
So would you enter a situation, or you know you've got a hot date, or you've got a party, or
I've got a hot date every night.
Okay. Or you've got a performance or something. Are you spending time getting yourself per se in character? So you need to be the party girl. So you're doing certain rituals to get yourself into that vibe. You need to be whatever. Do you kind of employ that as a process?
I do, but that's pretty much through the process. So through rehearsal, character building, everything, all the workshops that you've done. You might have done movement things that change the way you walk. You might have a different center in your body as the character. And then once it comes to performance, you have to trust it, that you've done it.
How do you do that? How do you trust it? What about that inner critic and, you know, the haters? And how do you trust this is who I am?
If I feel really, if I'm really not confident with the character and what I'm doing and what I'm physically doing, I'll know that I need more work.
And what does that look like? What do you mean more work? What does that mean?
More improving, more discovering how they speak, how they work comparatively to me. But once you get on stage, you can't, I don't think you can afford to be sitting there thinking about the haters or whatever, because you need to be
It's a practice
100% in your character, in that show. And I say to the kids, trust yourself, like trust your work. Even, they'll be, oh, what if I forget this or this? You're not going to. We've rehearsed this that many times. Just remember that. Just trust yourself.
I hope our listeners are thinking about this in terms of a metaphor for so many other ways in which we show up in life, because it's so true. It's you're asking here for congruence. Like the more congruent and aligned you are with the character in which you're presenting, the more people are going to believe you, the more you're going to impact, and the more your presence is going to ripple out into the people who are watching or who are in your orbit. Like it's such a profound metaphor for the job interview that you go for, or the way in which you interact with your children, like the conviction or the governance that you bring, the way you show up in your relationship.
Look, and that stuff's nice too, when you can work a lot on something and you are super well prepared and you have planned and you have research, but then there's many a day, as we all know, when you just got to wing it. And that's the improv, and you just have to trust yourself, and that can be hard, especially if you're a person who's very used to the schedule and the plan and the this and the that, and you're going in like, you know, it's almost like feeling blindfolded.
That's what I wonder. I'm interested in this. Like, this is hitting our edges, right? Our edges of discomfort, where you go, oh, you know, I feel like this character would move like this, but I'm not sure that that's comfortable for me to do. Or, you know, God, what if I completely stuff this up?
I think that's instinct, and you have to learn to trust your own instinct.
But how do you do that? Surely you've met women who are feel completely separated from their own instinct. How do you come back there?
Oh, that could be hard. I had to go through a pretty rough trot, and I should have had a past relationship without going into too many details, but I'd basically lost my ability to trust my instinct. I had instincts in the beginning about this relationship that I should have followed, and never again will I not trust my
That's
instincts.
a big learning curve.
But by the time that relationship had finished, without going into too much of the bad details of it, I didn't know who I was anymore, really, and what I was trying to do and how I reacted to things. You know, like I really lost a lot of my spark. And then it just slowly had to come back, and then being on my own with my kids, and a lot of that was terrifying. I just had to leap into the void with a lot of stuff. I didn't know, you know, how are you going to pay the rent? How are you going to feed them? How are you going to get there? How are you going to do this, this, this? And I just kept putting one foot in front of the other, and I kept saying to myself, it's going to get better. And a girlfriend of mine who's been a single mum for 10 years, and she's a really hardworking hair and makeup artist in the industry, so she does some crazy long hours on sets and things, and I just still don't know how she's done that all on her own, but she has always said to me, it's going to be okay, it's going to work, because you don't have any other option than for it not to work. Okay? And she was completely right. Like, what can you do? You can't let it all...
No, you can't. But how did you get when you say you lost your instinct, so you can in your mind cast back to all of the times that you've kind of buried over and dampened that what used to be a loud voice down to a whisper, down to potentially not being heard at all. What have you done to brush away the debris to come back to hearing that voice again?
Well, first of all, you need time. You need time. It takes a while to heal and to start to listen to yourself again and to start to trust yourself. And we all know when our instincts on. We all do. You can feel it.
What do you feel?
That it's right. You know that there's solidly something down it. I reckon it's down your solar plexus. That it's right, that it's good, or that this is a chance that I should jump at, or, you know, and you can feel it too if you think, oh, this is not good. I think we've made a bad decision here. But then that all has to be about the adventure of life as well. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be... This stuff is going to go wrong, and you've got to try and laugh at it. Like, losing a sense of humour has got to be the worst thing ever. You can't always laugh, but...
So has drama really served your life?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've been doing my entire life, basically, and performing, and now nurturing and creating artists through students, and it's how I make my money. It's how I've gotten my master's through that.
We just want to take a moment to talk to you about our aligned parenting program, which has very much been created from both myself and Bridget, from our hearts and our minds, and our years of parenting wisdom, which is very much built upon a foundation of every conscious parenting book that's ever been written, every in-person experience that could possibly have manifested. Yeah, absolutely. And we realised we still got to this point where we had no understanding or deeper insight beyond our children's needs, and we needed to feel into our own bodies and our own minds and our own sense of desire and want in this world as much as within our relationship. And we didn't know where to go beyond children's needs.
And it's a relationship like no other, that parent-child dynamic. You know, it's not something that just comes naturally if we seek to both raise children with strong emotional intelligence and grow as women and mothers and partners and wives.
So what we've done is opened our aligned parenting program up for lifetime access.
Yeah, so that's $197 in one payment, or you can have it in 3 payments of $66. And what that means is that you get instant access to all of our course material, and you'll also go into our private Facebook group with our tribe, Live and another group where we will facilitate bi-monthly live webinars, and we'll also have facilitation with you after those webinars to hash out any conscious parenting dynamic that you find yourself in and where you want to really upskill.
And that's for lifetime. So we really invite you to jump into Aligned Parenting Programming with us, where we really work on creating deeper insight and greater connection within your world. Our tribe member, our mum, who's at home with the kids, who's perhaps got to a point where she's lost pieces of herself that she's trying to find again, that she's feeling disconnected from her core sense of self, her sense of maybe strength and priority. They generally have a dampened or lost sense of their own sovereignty. They've just kind of collapsed and forgotten the goddess that they were or always are. And part of the work that we do is peeling back those layers and getting back in touch with our body and back in touch with that sense of self, of sovereignty. And, you know, playing with that is an expanse even beyond that. So beyond the seriousness of getting there is to be able to then almost you get so well taught and so serious that you can flip seriousness into play. I think it's actually a genius, don't you think? That play is actually harder than seriousness. And I'm thinking about these women that are there that are trying to be in their bodies a bit more and hitting edges of discomfort and trying to play a bit more and hitting edges of discomfort. And how do we do that? How do we in the moment go, it's safe to be in my hips and it's safe to open up, you know, emotionally and potentially even sexually with this partner that I feel closed in my body and I'm trying to open and I want to play with my kids, but I'm thinking about the 1,000 other things I've got to get done. Like, how do we hit those edges? One is sexually sovereign women, but two as, you know, mothers just trying to expand ourselves within what we might consider to be confining. Like, how are we hitting those edges and just still opening?
Well, I think it's pretty hard. There's a really hard point in a woman's life when she first has children. Like your sense of worth, your body, it's changed and moved and it's morphed and you don't feel like yourself. You're covered with vomit half the time. You know, like you're lucky if you got a shower. My son used to scream that much that some days I just wouldn't even get a shower. And so to kind of be floating around in clean tracky dacks for a while there and getting the food done and the washing done is one thing. So there's a few things I think that need to happen. Number one, you need an incredibly supportive partner, really. You do. You need someone to remind you of how awesome you are and who detracts from how bizarre you're feeling in yourself because it's a new version of you coming. Secondly, you need things for yourself, and that is hard because when the kids are little, there's not much time. But you know what I suggest? YouTube is your friend. You know, there's yoga classes you can do on YouTube now. There's like, you want to play guitar. If that's something, like looking at my guitar over there, which I don't practice enough, but if that's something that you've wanted to do, if you're still 10 minutes away, another thing is obviously all the wonderful mothers around you. You can get together and the kids can be having fun and you can just be sitting, drinking tea, you know, like kind of vomiting out your adult thoughts because you've been playing Bob the Builder or, you know, trying to teach someone how to say apple juice all day. I used to, when the kids were little, walk a lot. I'd get get some pumping music on my iPod and get the double pram out and get out in the sun. Music for me is a really big one. And any time that tiredness, I'm going to say tiredness, if you want to find your way back to your sovereign self and your sexuality and everything, like you need sleep. Like you're the Walking Dead a lot with little babies and young kids, and that is a killer. You and I were having this conversation just the other day. Yeah. I don't think there's anything harder, or I don't think there was a harder point in my life than that. Although I must say when I was studying my master's, single mum, running my business plus working another job to make sure I was paying the rent, there were moments in there where I was like, I can't do this. I got to stop. And then I just kept saying to myself, if I don't, nothing's ever going to change. My financial circumstance won't change, or I won't be able to get to that next level with, you know, the Drama Rama Factory, whatever it is, to make my life easier and my kids' life easier. So you just got to remember that at some point it is going to get easier, and if you can snatch little bits for yourself. You know, I was really lucky. I'm very, very close with my sister. and my sister-in-laws, and, you know, we would do that thing in the holidays where we would just all bunker down at someone's house for 2 or 3 days. All the mums would be, you know, drinking wine, and all the kids, and between all of us, we had all the kids sorted, and someone was cooking and someone was doing that. And just that sense of connectedness, and that you weren't alone, and laughing, telling stories to each other where you laugh. I keep going back to laughing. Like, laughing is the best. Good for your stomach muscles too. That's about all the stomach muscle exercise I do. I know I used to play roller too. I used to do all this stuff, and now I'm like, whatever. I did a couple of years ago, it must be a year and a half, or maybe 2 years. I went to a festival with the kids and they had a ball, but I took a tent, my friend's tent, and I didn't look inside. So I had 2 swags for 2 of the kids. I had someone's extra child with me, and then, the tent had no poles whatsoever. So I spent like 2 hours trying to tie it up to trees and all this, and my son Griffin's going, "It's not going to work, Mum." And I'm like, "Shut up! It's going to work!" And I'm sweating, and I'm like, "Ah!" In the end, I've just like kicked this down. I'm going, God, what are we going to do? Okay, 2 swags. You 2 are in that under some tarp over there. I said, "Rune, you and I are in like the back of the car." And so we slept in the back of the car, and I had this bunk mattress, didn't blow up. So I got a really bad hip because I slept on like the floor of my car, kind of. That's not the floor, it's the fold down. But you know what I'm trying to say. And then I had a bad hip from then for a while, and it made things hard. So any skating, any running, I used to like running a lot, but I just stopped anything that was really jarring. I even went to yoga a couple of times. It was just too much in my hips, and a lot of the poses, I was just too sore afterwards. Gradually that got better, but I went to a healing at a festival, not this New Year's, the one before. It was so bizarre. It was a singing bowl massage or something. Like, I thought I was actually going to get a massage, and I was like, okay, you could just hum around me.
Oh, it was vibrational.
Fine. I was like, okay, yeah. But she did say to me, she said, "So do you have any issues?" And I said, "I've had this bad hip for a while. It's starting to get better, but if you could focus some healing on that, that'd be great." And interestingly, she said to me, hips are often residue from past relationships. This is after I'd broken up with my bad relationship, and it was lingering. And she'd said, you need to try and heal from that, heal yourself from that, and disconnect from that. And over time, it has, because I'm pretty good now. I probably should start running again. But
it's interesting, isn't it? Our body knows.
Yeah.
Also. But that's why I'm also fascinated by women who manage to be embodied for so long, or move their bodies in expansive ways, like you're talking about, is that we hit those edges, that our bodies store memories and they store stories, and they remind us of different things and different feels that sometimes we don't want to enter. And I wonder how we move beyond those into that was me, and I'm hitting those edges, but this is where I want to be. How do I move through that? Do you know what I mean?
Well, there are all those cycles of life. I have friends who are in their 40s or just about to hit 40, and they just went and got boob jobs. And they've obviously been taught to dislike themselves their entire life, that it's weighed on them enough to cut into their own bodies and morph their own bodies. And I don't think that's from their families or their partners. I think that it's been a constant issue through media. It's projected onto us. I mean, look at the Victoria's Secrets models, like what a perfect thing is, or that body's supposed to look like. And I just think the only way to keep doing it is to love what you got. My mum died of breast cancer, and she had lost a boob before she went, and she was so upset about it. It was really her symbol of femininity. Not that we've got massive boobs or anything, but she lost one, and she just said, no matter how big they are, no matter how small they are, droopy, whatever, love your boobs. And I've got another girlfriend who just has gone through a double mastectomy, and she's in chemo at the moment, and she's fighting. She's a mum with a child who's just started high school, and you know, we have to be happy that we don't have cancer, that we're alive, that we are who we are. And we have to love what we've got. And that's not easy sometimes. You get in those Kmart or whatever. I shouldn't say I go to Kmart. You go to... I love Kmart. No, I'm just joking. You go into those change rooms with the fluorescent lighting and it comes down in all the wrong ways. And I'll do that to them. I'll be like, oh, this is so disgusting. I look disgusting. I just run home. But... I don't know. There's lots of tricks out there in society that just want to pull you down. And like I say to my kids, it's a bit of a different topic, but, you know, without the perfect body or, you know, like they'll talk about, oh, those people must be really rich because they've got a Lamborghini and blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that doesn't necessarily mean their life's perfect or they're good people. Really, it just means they've got a nice car. And I couldn't have that because your kids would ride into it with a scooter in 3 minutes. And, you know, like my car's a bit beat up. But I feel that it's the same thing with our bodies. And it's usually women judging other women. The men just tend to love women. I mean, I'm partnered with a beautiful man, but, you know, men are usually not as picky as women. It's the other women going, oh, you know, do I look skinny enough for the women? Or, you know, it's the pressure you feel from society. And I think it's about how we compare ourselves to other women. But in reality, there's not that many supermodel-y people in the world. So there's not. I like to try and build up young women. I like to build up my friends. I like to tell everyone they look fabulous. And it's all about how you feel. You know, you spend a night laughing with your friends. You're not really worried about, you know, does my butt look too big in this or whatever. So if we just go back to laughter and how we feel, stay away from the scales. Do not look in the fluorescent. Do not look at yourself in the mirrors at Kmart. Don't, you know, and if something doesn't fit, like give up the ghost. Go and find something else that suits you. I mean, you have to feel comfortable in what you are. I feel like I'm a person that looks really stupid in normal clothes. So you don't see me in, you know, walking around in normal sort of stuff because I feel like I look like an idiot. I really do.
What do clothes mean for you?
Oh, well, I guess they're an expression, they're an extension of me, but you're probably more likely to see me walking around in sequins and
it's one of the things I said to Bridget. I said, oh, Bridget, and she, you know, she must just be so embodied because she wears like the craziest outfits and they look freaking awesome. And I have this moment in my head where I'm going, how?
Someone said to me years ago, like, they said, look, if I wore that and looked at myself, I think I'd look ridiculous. So I said, there is your mistake. Just don't look at yourself. You just go, those clothes are fabulous. I want to put them on and I don't care. And at one point at the primary school, I used to have these pink cowboy boots when the kids were little, and they were I think they were from Target. They're really slippery. I went arse over that many times in these things, so I had to get rid of them in the end. But I used to wear them with long stripy socks and some shorts to school. And I think, and a couple of the mums came up to me like later on and said, as soon as I saw you in those pink cowboy boots, I knew you had to be my friend. And I was like, that is so weird. And like, you know, but you might be walking around and go, I was like, oh, I'll just wear whatever's on the floor for school because I thought I looked ridiculous.
Clothes are an expression.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is you're dressing according to how you feel on the inside and you're putting that outside going, and that's the art of adornment, isn't it? I'm showing this is my identification to the world of here's who I am, feel me, see me. You know, it's that we spend enough time and have enough reverence for creating the time to check in, to go inwards and go, what do I feel like today? When I open my wardrobe, what am I drawn to?
Well, I am lucky too though, because I have my drama singing school and I tend to be able to wear whatever I want when I do that.
It's part of what I completely love, though. I think that even by essence of you being the mothership of that you're creating, even without saying a word, the safety for every child who's in there to be, I can literally do whatever.
I can really use this to express myself.
Yeah.
And there are no limits.
Yeah. And I love that as well.
Oh, I do see some of the kids like they just slowly get more.
Yeah, they do.
But how wonderful, because you're giving them permission.
No, it's brilliant. I love it. How boring is the world if everyone's walking around in their, you know, just their normal stuff and being scared of being seen. I'm like, be seen, be seen.
What I was going to say is it's interesting that we don't give two thoughts often to what we're putting on our bodies in the day, and yet what we're putting on, if we actually stopped and thought about it, would in essence give the vibration of how we're feeling in the day and how we're felt in the day.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really interesting.
Definitely.
So, Sarah, before we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to leave our listeners with? Is there anything unsaid that you really feel called to say?
I say try and love yourself. And laugh a lot, people. Try and laugh, but try and love yourself. If everyone was walking around, you know, instead of hating on themselves or worried about the past or worried about this or worried about way out in the future, and if just loving yourself and you're sending that love out there and you're radiating, like if the world was all full of these happy people, it'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
I just don't think you can stay happy all the time, though.
No, look, you can't. You need downtime.
You need downtime too, and it has purpose. But
what else could I say?
I think the message of loving yourself is good. I just think that's in practice that can be hard.
I think though, if you're having a bad day, loving yourself means self-care, whatever that means. Do you need a hot bath today? Do you shut the whole world off? Do you not answer the phone? I have days where I'm like, I'm not answering the phone. My hair is sideways. I am going to stay in my pajamas all day.
And loving yourself is making that okay.
Yeah.
So making those feelings okay.
Yeah, my partner's in construction and he's funny because he's not used to having lazy days. And then when I have a lazy day like I did today, I've been, getting over a cold. Like I will watch 3 movies, flat strap, and Netflix, and he'll be like, "Shouldn't we be doing something?" And I'm like, "No, no, we shouldn't. You've got to use your spare time wisely. You'll be doing lots of stuff tomorrow." Like there's always time. Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, we talk a lot about talking about happy and sad. It's just that concept of support and challenge, that often the stuff that's really hard for us is the stuff that we learn the most from. And I'm just wondering if there's a time in your life that you could cast your mind back to that you had probably the largest or one of the largest challenges, the toughest time, the biggest amount of pain. And by virtue of going into that cave, that you've gained the greatest amount of wisdom for moving forwards in your life. Is there a time that you can cast your mind back to and tell us about
there's
that?
Plenty of times I've been pretty lost. After Mum died, that was quite hard because our dad died my dad died when I was like 10. So then losing my mum when I was 26 or whatever it was quite hard. I ended up in Vienna with my sister. That's how I ended up over there. She was in a musical, and I just sat there some days in this beautiful apartment in Vienna just bawling. And I thought at one point, I think I've actually had a breakdown. How do you get out of this? How do you make yourself happy again? And you can't just force those things. All you can do is keep crying through it, keep working through it. Know you're not happy. Know that you need to change things, but you need support. I would say that at some of the lowest points in my life, that's when you feel like there's no one there. There's no one to help you. There's no one to bounce off. And so put your hand out for support. But your body, your psyche, your instincts, your emotions, your imaginations, we can try and say that we control it, but we don't. The body plays its own it plays its own schedule, I should say. But time usually does change a lot. And you look back and you think, how did I do that? I think just got to remember that it will be better. All those tough times that I was doing my master's and I nearly quit one placement because kids were not wanting to go to school. It was just really, really tough. And I just had to keep saying to myself, well, I got to make this better somehow. You just got to keep pushing through. There is great stuff. Remember, life's a roller coaster too. It's going to go down. I lost my nanny in October. She was 102 and nearly a half, so she was our last elder. And times do go down like that, and then they come up again. So,
have you gotten well practiced at asking for help?
No.
To a support network?
No. I think that's really hard for anyone to ask for. A lot of us mums particularly, it's hard for us to go, oh, I've got this gig, or I've got this, or can you just take my kids? Or, most people will be happy, especially if there's, an exchange system going on. I'll take your kids and you can take mine, or whatever that is. But it is hard to ask for help because I feel like a lot of the time we have to be superwomen and we feel like we have to do it all. And, and if you're hearkening back to our mums' days or the old days where everyone did, she never complained. I think I complain all the time. I'm not that person, but I'm very lucky that this time around my partner is just incredibly supportive. He's not even a guy that you have to really ask. He'll just get in here and he'll make dinner, he'll fold laundry, he just picks up the slack. Whereas in the past, that was pretty much me, and that was overwhelming. You're tired and, you know, life is hard sometimes. It's really
Have you
hard.
changed your thought processes from your old partner to your new partner in terms of maybe back then was it I have to do it all versus now is I don't want to do it all?
Oh, yeah. I think I left that relationship knowing that I never wanted that again. And if that meant that I was alone till the day I died, then that was fine by me. My grand retirement plan was to have a combi and just keep driving if it was just me. And I'd roll out my long electricity cord to all the nieces and nephews. I'd talk to them. I'd have a bad, you know, like horn too. And they'd be like, oh, God, here comes Auntie Sarah again. Yes, I do, to use your power and electricity. So I thought if the worst case scenario, if that's me, and that's okay. And I think that's a really good tool to use. Think of the worst thing. Like if you're in a situation, what's the worst that could happen?
The worst outcome.
Look at the worst outcome and just go, well, you know what, that might not be so bad. It won't be too bad. So I used to, but my whole thought process was, I'm not going to be in another relationship where just because I have a vagina, I have to do all of the housework, I have to do all of the child raising, everything. You know, even my old partner used to pull out the whole thing. I'm earning more money than you. I'm the one earning the money. And then a couple of days, if I had an ad that earned a lot of money, I'd be like, you're taking the day off and you can't say shit because I'm earning more money than you. And his face used to be so angry. But I just never want to be in that pattern ever again. And you've got to be careful. I think that if you do come out of a relationship or out of some hard point in your life, that you give yourself time to sort of decompress, because once you've got patterns worked out, it's very easy to get back into the same patterns. So I was a little bit concerned about that, but I was not going to settle for anything less than awesome. And I have a magical unicorn now who happens to be a hot Latino, and it's all very good.
So if you had a billboard on any highway anywhere in the world, what would you say on that billboard?
Oh, I read this. I didn't know what to say. See, I would have thought I might say love yourself, but jeepers. Keep smiling, one foot in front of the other, just keep going. I don't know.
Get yourself a magical unicorn.
Get yourself a magical unicorn. Come on, listen to more music. Turn the radio up.
That's a good one. Listen to more music.
Dance to Xanadu.
Oh, God.
You've inspired me to watch that. You know, I have never seen that.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. You're going to be amazed because there's everything. There's like Greek mythology with the muses. Plus there's the 80s roller skating.
I'm addicted to Greece, right? But I've never seen Xanadu.
And then you've got to see Gene Kelly. It's his last film. He's 80-something and he dances. Oh, it's still like watching butter.
Yeah.
I'm inspired.
And I always wanted to be one of those cartoon fish.
And then all of a sudden it's a cartoon.
Like got everything.
Xanadu has everything. Although one of my best friends was like, we were watching it recently and my partner watched it and I was like, you've been Xanadu now. Because in the beginning I think that should be your billboard. You've been Xanadu. Oh, get Xanadu. Yep, that should be my billboard. But there's the first bit and all of a sudden, you know, the girls, the lights come around them and they jump off the wall and the song is I'm alive. And, you know, they're all dancing and Geronimo goes, oh, everything makes sense. Now I know. Yeah.
Xanadu has the answers.
It has everything. On the best scene, there's the shopping. Roar! And then also there's this great scene where they merge like the 1940s and the 80s together and the music is...
This sounds so good.
It's pretty good.
I'm going to watch it tomorrow.
It's pretty good. So, Sarah, how do we get in contact with you? And if you're a mum like me who has a child who just is needing a little bit of extra love and help to be themselves and be bigger and more expressed in this world, how can they get in contact with you?
You can always jump on Facebook. I have a page for the Drama Rama Factory and you can always message me through there. And I have 2 email addresses you could contact me at as well. Should I say that now? Or will that
Say
be
one
on
of them, and we'll make sure we put everything in the show notes as well.
Okay, you can go Silver Sarah, so it's silver like the metal, SILVERSAR @outlook.com. And I tried to give someone that email the other day. She said, it keeps bouncing, this older lady. And I said, what did you have again? She goes, I am Silver Sarah. And I was like, no, you're not supposed to put the I am Silver Sarah. But I liked it.
But you are.
I am Silver Sarah.
Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
and
thanks so
congratulations on your nomination, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
big one, isn't it? Australian Podcast Awards, who got nominated in the top 5, which is really exciting.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. Thanks. So,
Thanks so much, Sarah. Bye.
Lovely to meet you. Bye.
So we hope you took something from that interview with Sarah. What really landed with me was just the importance of leaning into laughter and silliness and play as connection, particularly as our kids grow older and we find more of our edges through them.
And making craziness and the bigger expanse of emotion just that bit safer. I think when you have a space to get your crazy out, you can just find a space to really settle into your own sense of self, like a deeper sense of self, and know that it's safe for you to be you. And I really totally dig that with Sarah as well. She definitely creates a safe space within her home and within the drama school for kids to be all of who they are. And I definitely respect that. So you can connect with Sarah via Facebook at the Drama Rama Factory, and we have all the links in the show notes. So if you just click below the blurb in this podcast, you'll be able to reach out to her. You can connect with us on nourishingthemother.com.au and Nourishing the Mother on Facebook and Instagram. We love your social discussions and sharing and messages and emails, so please keep them coming, because there's nothing that just, thrills our hearts more than seeing the ripples out into other mamas in the world who are thinking and doing just like us.
Totally.
And to connect with you, Bridgie,
It's suburbansandcastles.com, and you, Jules?
is thepleasurenutritionist.com.
And remember to nourish the mother to rock the family.
We are so good at getting that
Oh my
one.
God, one day we will get it.
And we'll see you next week when we continue to peel back the layers on your mothering journey.
This year, the Wellness Summit returns.
I realised in this time that I couldn't keep waiting for love from other people. I couldn't keep expecting love from other sources. But I had to give that to myself.
Yanni says, I don't care if everyone says that the kitchen is the woman's world. He says, I'm going to prepare food. I love my own cheese. I love my own wine. I don't care what you think of my new flat screen TV. He just loves company.
I started asking myself more often, what do I want? Such a simple question, isn't it? But when you think that, and I'm sure all of you sitting there, when you think that, something springs into your mind. And there's something there that you want that you haven't been doing for yourself.
Brett Hill and Marcus Pearce feature at the 2018 Wellness Summit. Bigger and better than ever. Tickets on sale Friday, May 4 at thewellnesssummit.com.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives.
Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.